Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Greg Coyne, for the MISHRM podcast. Wanted to welcome our guest today, Monica Lloyd. She is the executive board's secretary for MISHRM, and Monica even said she would help me out with this. So, outside of the executive board, what's your day job? All right. What would you
Yeah,
say that
yeah,
is?
absolutely. Thanks for having me, Greg. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So outside of my service to MISHRM Executive Board, I am the Chief Human Resources Officer for a company called Centrica Care Navigators. We're a nonprofit and we focus on end of care life, so hospice and palliative care.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna touch on that a little later because it's a very not only important business, but what you do for them, I think it's overlooked a lot of times because of your leadership responsibilities, both from a board standpoint, but in a day-to-day activity methodology. So I'll touch on that. But first, what I want to do, thank you again for being here. Number two is I want to find out a little bit more about the upcoming conference. And I know that it'll be starting here in the middle of October, 17th through the 20th. It's entitled Untangling Your Inspiration. What I want to find out is a little bit more because of being an executive board member, being an HR leader. What exactly does that mean to you, untangling your inspiration?
Yeah. Well, it means so much. I think that as HR professionals, and myself included, it's been a whirlwind of a few years, right? I mean, we can all agree.
Yeah.
And HR professionals are dropping out of the HR industry in droves because it has been difficult to recenter ourselves and refine ourselves and rekindle this passion and this inspiration for why we do what we do every day. And we know at the heart of it is people and giving and being of service to our organizations and those who give their time, energy, and effort to us every day. Um, but really, it means to me turning inward a little bit and really reflecting on what do I need as an individual? You know, as HR professionals, again, we give and give all day long. But what can I take back for myself to be re-inspired, to reignite this flame, to, be a better person individually so I can lead from a full cup instead of leading from an empty cup. So to me, that's what it means is refinding ourselves and our love and our joy and our inspiration for why we do what we do every day so we can be even better for our organizations.
I like it. I like it. So let me dovetail off of that response a little bit because I think you said it. A lot of times we look at ourselves and we forget about ourselves in terms of needing that, not burning out, getting some of that fire restoked. So let me ask, what do you think? And I know I'm putting a lot of this is just your answer, nobody else's. What do you think the number one issue is right now from an HR professional's perspective? What do you think the biggest problem, issue, opportunity to expand? You fill in the blank for the community right now.
Yeah. I think it is having the responsibility for all the people stuff without the real authority to do all the things we're expected to do.
Okay.
And that can be extremely draining as an HR professional because we're expected to impact culture and fix performance systems and make sure that we're comping people appropriately and having an excellent employee experience and engagement scores and all this and that. And then we see all the things that need to happen to actually produce the results that we are responsible for. But then when it comes time to actually get the buy-in and the resources and the appropriate decisions to move in that direction, there's not always as much support as needed. And without the ultimate authority to say, too bad, this is what we're doing because this is what I'm responsible for, and this is what you need, and this is what we need, we can't always do that. So I think that that's where that frustration comes from. And so it's finding balance of patience and progress. It's finding balance of people and position and profit and operations. And it's trying to find that middle point where we can see the changes that need to be made, make steps in the right direction without becoming frustrated for the need to produce these results without the authority to do so all the time.
No, I appreciate that. And so let me ask, take the compliment for what it is. A couple of things I always admired from getting to know you, Monica, is the fact I always know where you stand. You never have to mince words. You speak it from the heart, you're direct about it, and you think strategically. So what I'm thinking is, how do HR professionals, CHROs, generalists, you name it, I mean, because all of them have different amounts of authority. How do they go about asking for it or getting it? Because if they're given the opportunity to make real impactful organizational change, the authority needs to come with it, or the benefits therein. So how do you ask for it? How do they get it?
Yeah. You link it into the business, right? Business results, business objectives, bottom line. So as an HR professional, I mean, we all know that our talent, the people we employ, are our biggest expense.
Yep.
Always on every budget sheet, right? They're the biggest expense.
Yes.
And so when we think about how we can reduce turnover, or increase the time, increase the amount of time we can promote people, retain tribal knowledge. If you can tie your initiatives, the needs that you see as an HR professional back to that business and bottom line, that's how you really drive that. But I think the thing that's also important to remember is, yes, we are service departments, right? We provide a service to the people that we serve, the organization.
Sure.
But if, let's say, you hire someone to come clean your carpets as a service, you're not bringing them in and then telling them how to clean it, right? They're a service, but they're the expert in that space.
Right.
And so I would encourage HR professionals to stand your ground and claim your space. You are an expert in the people. You get it. And so learning how to find that position and speak from a place of authority, speak from a place of expertise, and speak to the business impact of the people stuff that you're trying to drive, that's how you get it. I'd also recommend to read the book, Never Split the Difference. It's about negotiating. And being a great negotiator and being a great seller of ideas, right? Sales books are cool too, because they give you tactics and information on how to get people to do what you want them to, right? Sales. And it's not manipulation, it's partnership, right? I mean, Greg, you know that, driving business is all about partnership. It's the same way.
So here's the thing too, and I also know this part, and you're speaking my language, and I've always felt this way, that the HR community is in sales. So is leadership in the C-suite. It takes both strategy and tactics to do this, to be successful in it. I also know that there's psychology, and based on the great book that you said, Never Split the Difference, there is a lot of psychology based on, if I remember correctly, FBI, former FBI agent, talking about, some of the negotiations that he's done in the past. The fact is, though, too, is that I also know from running it zillions of times that when you give an exercise for people to tell you what a salesperson is like, they think about sleazy, pushy, used car, all the negatives that go along with it. So knowing that, and knowing that HR needs to continue to think strategically, how do you help these HR generalists, these HR professionals go that route, get there, plant their feet, and understand that they do have rights? How do you get them to think like that?
Yeah. Well, I think the first part is asking them to seek to understand always, right? What's important to the people that you're serving? Because when you can uncover what keeps them up at night, you can then link in the stuff that you want to do into what's going to be important to them. And by doing so, you then create that partnership. So yeah, I understand that we all think like, you think sales and you think of the used car salesman who won't leave you alone while you just want to look at the lot, right? And it's why when you go shopping and someone says, "Can I help you find something?" You say, "No, I'm just browsing," because it's like, we don't want people all up in our business.
Right.
But when you start asking questions and, inviting people to coffee who are stakeholders or people who are influencers in your organization, we all know who they are, right?
Yeah.
People who people listen to, and you bring them into your space and you get into their world and then say, I wonder how something like this might impact that. Or, would you consider a conversation regarding how I think I can help you drive what's important to you? Right. And then they're saying yes, and you already got one yes, and that's great. And all these little things that help move closer to the goal of partnership to be able to move the needle that you're responsible for.
And it's funny you say that, because you're completely speaking my language. I'm right in lockstep with you. And I think the biggest thing I always refer back to, we talk about the ethical salesperson all the time, and an ethical salesperson is someone who doesn't sell someone something they don't need. We're all I think, in lockstep with that. But here's where the big vital change comes in, because it's been my experience, HR professionals, no matter what level they're at, they want to help people.
Mhm.
So here's the flip side. It's also being willing to sell someone something they need, even when we think they don't need it. If they need it, it's in our best interest to help them. But so many times we let our own influences get in the way, and we stop halfway. Okay.
Mhm.
So here's my big question, kind of to wrap it all together.
Mhm.
I want to find out for you, what would you say you recommend to the HR community to connect better with their leadership? You've given a lot of great examples, but if you had to condense it down into one thing, what might it be?
It's definitely to be the solution,
Okay.
right? And to find what's important for them and figure out how you can help impact that. So it's almost like this idea of you have to give to get,
Yeah.
right? You have to build trust. You have to be able to show that you're worth your salt, that you care about them, that you're not just always trying to drive your own ideas. So even asking questions of your leader, or if you have a step down meeting and you're able to talk to your leader's leader, to say things and ask questions like, what's the one thing that if we could tackle together in the next 6 months that would be most meaningful, right? And again, seeking to understand um first, because then you avoid that I'm trying to push my agenda, which feels like that sleazy salesman. No one wants
Yes.
to be sold. But when you create partnership and you show that you're interested in the business and that you understand what we're trying to do as a whole collective organization, and how my piece of that helps drive in the big direction we're trying to go to. If you're blind to that, you're never going to be able to get anything over the finish line. So really leaning in, I think, is important. Be the solution person.
I love it. And this is Monica Lloyd, our MISHRM Executive Council Secretary. Before I let you go, there's one thing I didn't prep you for that I do want you to ask, okay, or I want to talk to you about. And that is, you're doing a pre-conference talk, correct? So
Yes.
I kind of guided this because I think it's important that people know the strategic side of things. And I want the HR community to start thinking that way and get better at it. Know that it's part of the people business. What are you going to be speaking on, and line up, kind of give people a precursor on what they can expect when they come in?
So we're going to be doing some big thinking. So it's called the Essential Connection. And really, it is helping leaders think about HR strategy as an entire system,
Okay.
and how to link that people strategy to the business strategy, right? Because again, if you're not connected to the business strategy, your stuff's just touchy feely, right? That's how we're all classified in HR. And so really come with some hard hitting, here's the strategy that we can use. And picking apart each of the individual components of an HR system,
Yeah.
and how they all work together. And if one's elevated, how one might then be a little bit deflated, and how to make decisions on where to adjust and how they all interplay. So it's going to be 4 hours of really cool content
Awesome.
that's very high level, and people will be leaving thinking more, which is great. Strategy isn't just a check the box. Strategy is an ever evolving thought process. So it's going to be a really good time.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see it, be there, be a part of it. Thank you, Monica, for being a part of this MISHRM podcast. I want to thank you for coming on, talking about a little bit more about strategy in the HR space, and also getting people ready for the MISHRM conference here in October. So thank you again for being here. Thank you all for being on with me. I'm your host, Greg Coyne, for the MISHRM podcast. And until next time, have a great day, everybody. Thanks. Take care.